Hello everyone, this is Shannon from That's So Pow, and today I'm doing week 18 of my 2021 reads. This week I read quite a few good books. I had a solid reading week. I'm feeling like I'm back in the mood to read again out of my reading slump, which has made me very, very happy. Timestamps and content warnings are in the description box below. First, I read Quiet Girl in a Noisy World by Debbie Tung, which is a collection of short little comics that is really very relatable. I loved the art style in this. It is just kind of sketchy art with watercolors, which I very, very much like. And it's all about Debbie Tung, about her life, about kind of especially being an introvert, being somebody who's easily tired out by social interactions. I loved so many of the things in this, the relation to kind of feeling your batteries wear down from social interactions, that kind of thing. It has a little bit much sort of angst in it, some self-doubt and, negative self-talk and things like that. But I just really related to a ton of the different comics in this, and I loved the art style. So I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Next, I read Crucial Conversations by Kerry Patterson, Joseph Grenny, Ron McMillan, Al Switzler, and Stephen R. Covey. This is a self-help book all about how to have difficult conversations. It's about how to build trust in a conversation, how to listen effectively, how to share sort of what your story is and what you want, and how to kind of come to a conclusion of working together to resolve it. I think that this was actually really surprising at how great this book was. It's something that is very popular, I think, within the self-help genre, but it actually was really, really effective. It's a short book. It doesn't have a ton of fluff, and it's very, very concise, to the point, actionable, and based on behavioral psychology. I thought this was really good, and it gave very concrete skills for how to have difficult conversations. And I think that that's just something that kind of all adults need. So I strongly recommend this book. Even if you're not somebody who does a ton of self-help, this is just like good adulting skills. So I gave this 5 out of 5 stars, strongly recommend. And then lastly, I read an entire romance trilogy, the Baldwin Village trilogy by Jackie Lau, which includes The Ultimate Pie Day Party, Ice Cream Lover, and Man vs. Durian. I first heard about this series from Cynthia at BookWhimsy, who I will link her review of the second book below. Hearing her review, I thought, oh man, I need to pick this up. So I am so glad that I did, because it was excellent. I really loved this series. I'm gonna have a review for the whole series come up later this week. So if you're interested in more details, go ahead and keep an eye out for that. But let me just give you an overview of what this series is about. So this series is set in a foodie area of Toronto called Baldwin Village, and it follows especially a number of Chinese Canadian characters, and it's all about sort of personal growth and development and kind of building and fixing relationships. Actually, I noticed that there was a ton of role modeling in these books of how to have difficult conversations that reminded me a lot of Crucial Conversations. It was very interesting. There's just so many interesting things that are explored in this, and it is such a funny series and filled with so much great food descriptions. So if you like contemporary rom-coms, if you like food, if you like books that are very, feminist in the way that they deal with women's issues, this is such a good one. If you want more detail about each of the books, check out my review later this week, but I really, really liked it. The first book I gave 4 stars. It was excellent, but had a little bit too much sort of drama in that third act conflict for me. The second book I gave 4.5 stars, and the third book, which I think, by the way, has the best cover and title ever, I gave 5 stars. It was super sweet, and I loved it so much. So I definitely recommend this series. Okay, so those are all of the books that I read this week. I am so glad that I am just feeling in the mood to read all the things again. I've missed that feeling. If you guys have read any of these, if you have any thoughts, any recommendations, anything at all, just go ahead, leave me a comment down below.